Keeping venomous reptiles is an unforgiving hobby, requiring proper training and lots of experience. One simple mistake can be the difference between life and death. Remember, the most venomous snake in the world is the one that just bit you. There are no venomous snakes with training wheels. Just because you see viperkeeper handle snakes a certain way does not mean you should try it too.
Okay, so my assistant and I, Dan, prepared this cage, larger cage for Bucky the Boomslang, or the Bucky the Bucktooth Boomslang as we know her and love her. We're putting her in here, A, for larger quarters, B, she's going to be visited after she settles in by the wacko blue-green male across there in hopes that she breeds. Now, earlier this year, she dumped out a boatload of slugs, and to me that's a shame. She's ready to breed. It'd be fun to breed boomslangs, but finding homes for a boatload of boomslangs may not be so easy. But in my opinion, if I have a snake and I can breed it, that sort of fulfills one of their major tasks of any life form in nature, and that's to reproduce. And that's one of my creeds that I abide by. So I'll reproduce her, and I'll spread as many of the babies that I get feeding and to as many people as I can. So, you know, she's got some of her genes out there like it was intended. So right now, the task is to safely move her from one cage to the other. So we will commence with that fun and game. Now, Bucky rarely comes out, and when she does, she's generally expecting food, and when she's expecting food, she really can come out quite rapidly. Come on, Bucky. I'm going to trick you, I think, or I'm going to try, but I think you realize that there's no food in this for you. Right now, I don't necessarily want her to come out. What I want to do is try to get her log out first, her furniture, so she can at least take her stinky pooey log and have something which, you know, has her scent on it. I'm sure she will poop in the cage almost immediately. But it's nice to have something that smells like home. Just for emotional support. It's like her emotional support log sort of deal. So we'll put that in the back here, and Dan strung up some nice brand new foliage to give her a little bit more security. There's a nice basking spot on this piece of vine that we attached. So now all that's left is to move Bucky over, and hopefully she cooperates. Now after here's one of the slugs that I didn't retrieve. For those who are unfamiliar, those are my fingers, not pinkies. Slugs are unfertilized ova that the animal expels, and she went off feed for the longest time, and after she dumped those embryos, she was absolutely rail thin. I was really worried about her, but she came back on feed and I fed her up, and she recovered her size and weight and is doing generally pretty well. Now, boomslangs are rear fangs, but they're boomslangs of the highest caliber. They will kill people and have. Boomslangs are not unlike other rear fang snakes. Other rear fang snakes can only open their mouths so far. Boomslangs can actually open their mouth 180 degrees and just sort of slam into you. They don't have to bite. You're okay, girl. You can come closer. She's not interested in zooming around the room at this point. For those that don't know boomslangs, boomslang venom is the venom equivalent of Ebola. It's, of course, not infectious because it's not a virus. However, it causes the same sort of destruction when introduced into a human body. It causes permeation of your capillaries and destruction of your clotting factors. Subsequently, you basically melt down into a puddle of your own bodily fluids. A very bad way to go, as many people have discovered. Hi there. How you doing? Now, she can of course go close that distance faster than I can probably react, so I'm just going to freeze. But you can see why we call her Bucky. When she arrived in the bags, boomslangs had this bad habit of rubbing their face incessantly trying to escape, to the point where she actually eroded her nose all the way back to her exposed skull bones. And that's what we see there, is her exposed skull. She's healed. She's doing really well, as I said. Of course, there's always a chance that you can lose a snake like that. But we managed to pull her through. So, you know, she's not the best looking boomslang and display animal that I've seen. However, unlike other collectors, I don't need perfect animals. Each animal is kept because it has a great personality, not that it has any sort of a defect. Unless the animal's quality of life is poor, I will not euthanize an animal just because it's not perfect, unlike all you morph breeders out there who wantonly kill animals you produce just because it doesn't have the traits that you were hoping. So to hell with all you guys. You guys are just really bad for the reptile community in general. That said, Bucky is often exploring her cage. We'll move her name tag over, and we'll move on to the next victim in the lair.
Well, we moved Miss Bucky Boomslang, and as you can see, this is a very unhappy snake. She has got her neck flared as far as large as I've ever seen it. Are you upset with us? Are you upset with us, Miss Bucky? You know, it's the same place, same room, same people. It's just a different, clean cage. But yeah, she's not happy about that. Sorry, girlie. Sorry. Who knew having a nice, fresh, bigger cage would be so upsetting to a snake? See the size of that neck flare. It's kind of hard to tell because black against black in a dark background, it's a bit hard to see, but she looks like she has a wattle. That's how large it is. Yes, we know. You're very pissed off. Hopefully you settle in soon.
Alright, what should be a simple thing will probably be very complex. Now I hope Mr. Brown makes me a liar and goes easily and smoothly, but from past experience that is not in Mr. Brown's vocabulary. He's being moved over here. That's a loop.
Well, I need to get me a hook as well. Thank you. Okay.
So he's being moved over here next to his cousin, the Colette snake. And I'm going to turn this into Bothrop's Towers. I have 3 Bothrops that really sort of need to be moved in there because they're a bit on the dangerous side. So I'll move them around. Mr. Brown is already agitated because I removed his furniture. So this will be interesting. Hopefully just interesting. Oh, I know. I saw that tail wag. Come on, Mr. Brown. Come on. Come on. No, I don't have food. Don't bite yourself. Come on. No, that's not the feeding tongs. You know, they can tell the difference between the nice shiny metal and the not so shiny metal. Come on. Come on. I know, I very seldom handle you. Okay, yeah. Well, at least he doesn't have the conical scale that a forest cobra has. Okay, Mr. Brown. Come on. Put your head in the hole there, dude. These are the pygmy mulga snakes. These are from Papua New Guinea. Pygmy mulga snakes, these are half the size of the mulga snakes from mainland Australia, which grow to about 6 feet and about the diameter and size of Mr. Elvis over there. They're primarily, well, your typical Australian cocktail of nastiness. They have some hemorrhagens, some pre- and post-synaptic neurotoxins, but they're predominantly myotoxins, which are pretty nasty all by themselves. So he was due for a cage cleaning, but I like to keep nasty things sort of all together so you don't think you're opening a squamager cage and open something nasty. So the Australian group of Phastalapids are here in this tower. Okay, I have some pit vipers on the bottom, but they're generally not a problem. I just trying to consolidate. I'll make Bothrop's Towers over there so we can keep track of where everybody is. Later we'll feed him and that may appease him. You probably don't need this, Pink, but I'm going to give it to you because I'm going to be away for 2 weeks and you'll be really mad when I get back because that'll be 3 weeks with no food, even a small morsel. So Pink is about a 4.5, 5 foot West African gaboon from Ivory Coast with fangs over an inch. And when she hits the rat on the end of this, it feels like my tongues got hit by a baseball bat. And I'm very careful to try to keep myself out of the line of fire because it would be very bad to get in her way. Now you notice her pupil dilated a little bit. She realizes that food is at hand, so to speak. And as it gets bigger and bigger, she gets closer and closer to the launch quota. Oh, you missed. Well, missing is a relative term with a gaboon. The rat would be dead if she even winged it with a fang. But you can see that she was easily able to reach around that corner, and that's why I'm trying to keep my hand out of the direction of the cage, because she is a force to be reckoned with. Now that Mr. Taipan's mouth is full, I will attempt to remove his shedding. I know, I'm bothering you. I'm sorry. Just eat. Manja. I know. Just relax. Eat. Get the hell out of my way. My snakes are most compliant when they're eating. Now he could spit that out in relatively short amount of time, but I sort of have like Marty Feldman eyes, with one eye over there and one eye watching what I'm doing, just to make sure that Mr. Taipan, who has done his task for this year, gets his tucker. He's quite different in feeding response than the female. He's a little bit more controlled and reserved, and actually will sometimes take the rat right off the tongs. Whereas she is a totally psycho beast that gets so excited, tries to kill everything that moves in the room, including me trying to get the hell out of the cage and shutting the door. Okay, so he's good for now. Hi, how you doing? Now, a rat that size and pink is really not a huge problem. She might work her way to the back end and eat it that way, or she just might try folding it in half and eating the ass end that way. And usually gaboons don't necessarily like to let go of something once they have it, which is a scary prospect if it's hanging off your forearm. Hi. You having fun? Look, I didn't grab it in the middle. I didn't make you grab it in the middle. You just did. So you have to deal with it. See, now, like any of my other snakes, if I try to help her, she's only going to get pissed off. So it's just better that she gets pissed off on her own than I actually help her. Oh, we're going to the front end. Very clever. We're a clever girl. Working her way to the front. Fortunately, the rat is very cooperative at this point. There we go. Good job. we didn't make it to 5 feet without being a good eater. Sometimes I wonder, Elvis, how he ever made it that big, having so much trouble eating. You know, they're just not designed to eat rodents. You know, he literally has to sort of stuff it in his mouth and partially down his throat until it gets sort of started. Now, not that this piece of substrate is really going to bother her. Look, I know, I see. I'm going to remove it just to be nice. No, you don't have to give me the stink eye. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt. Large gaboons like this in the wild, they've put tracking systems on and tracked them down, and they only eat like 3 or 4 times a year. Snakes in captivity have a tendency to get really sort of overfed, and you know, I feed her and on my other gaboons a lot more than I probably should. Right now she'll get a big meal like this once every 2 weeks, with the middle week something small just to make her happy, feeling, you know, like she got fed and she's not going to be totally pissed at me. The problem with big gaboons is not only are they have big fangs and eat big meals, they also have big poops. When it happens, it's a major backhoe event, cleaning out the cage. Well, yeah, she's pretty much got things well and underway. Now come on, you should be used to having the camera nearby. You can see those very large fangs acting as meat hooks. Like I said, hers are 1 inch plus. I haven't really, you know, ran a string down and measured it with the curvature. It's well over 1 inch if I do that. And right now, since they're sort of free, I would not be surprised if she had to defend herself, that she could whip those out and around and actually hook me with it. So we're always very careful not to get too close. I have had a close call with a gaboon before, and when I realized how close it actually was, I was rather sick to my stomach and decided to call it a day. Now, in the wild, when they're eating, they get all sorts of substrate with their food. It doesn't really cause a problem. It's only our artificial substrates that can cause problems, like, you know, a piece of wood that's relatively dry actually swells when it gets filled with water and you know, takes up a larger space than it did initially. Well, she certainly has that under control now. I guarantee you, when I'm feeding snakes tomorrow, she'll be out begging for more. Now they have their own mechanism for sort of spitting out the substrate, so I'm not really worried about it. You see that I annoyed her a little bit by going after those pieces. I'm not going to even bother. I never asked her if she got splinters in her butthole when she pooped and stuff. And I don't think I will, because she's rather quiet and doesn't like answering personal questions. Do you, huh? Okay, well, she's done. I'm not going to hang around for her adjusting her fangs. I'm just going to get out of here and continue feeding.